Hey everyone, I'm Rachel, current product manager at a big tech company. I've done 50 plus interviews for product management, and I wanted to walk through the most popular PM question, which is the product design question. Here's the agenda for this video. First, I'm going to talk about what a product design question is, what the interviewers are evaluating for when asking you these questions, key things to remember, give you an okay example at answering the product design question, explain to you the circles method and how to apply it, then give you a better solution for answering the product design question. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to approach these types of questions with confidence and clarity. So what exactly is a product design question? These questions ask you to create or improve a product, usually in the form of design X for Y, where X is a product's feature or need and Y is a specific user. Some examples include design a refrigerator for blind users, design a notification system for busy professionals, design a way to reduce wait times for hospital patients. Product design questions are designed to test how you think, not just what you know. The challenge is that many of the questions are deliberately open-ended and ambiguous, which makes it very easy to ramble or freeze. When interviewers ask you product design questions, they're not judging you on whether you invent the perfect product right on the spot. They're evaluating 4 key things. Number 1, structure. Can you take a vague, open-ended prompt and organize your thinking clearly? Number 2, customer focus and empathy. Do you identify a high-impacted user and anchor your answer to their needs? Do you empathize with their pain points? Next, prioritization and trade-offs. Can you decide what matters most instead of trying to solve everything? And lastly, communication. Can you explain your reasoning in a way that's logical, confident, and easy to follow? In other words, design questions are less about what you design and more about how you think. Let me walk you through an unstructured answer to the product design question. How can you improve the in-person grocery shopping experience? Yeah, great question. Let me just jump right in by thinking of the biggest issue first. So as a shopper myself, I'd say the biggest challenge is waiting in line. It always feels like the most painful part of every grocery trip, even if everything else was smooth sailing. To fix this, I don't think we need to hire more people at cash registers since self-checkout already exists and it would be a big waste of money. We should make it an app that lets customers scan items as they shop, pay directly in the app, and skip the checkout line altogether. Even the grocery store doesn't have the resources to make an app. We're in the age of tech, so it should happen sooner than later. There are a few problems with this answer. First, it shows no empathy for the broader user base, jumps straight into my own experience as a shopper and assume that it applies to everybody. Second, I made an assumption about every grocery store not having self-checkout, which may not be true. Then I also landed on an idea without exploring alternatives or trade-offs. What are the odds that my first idea was the best? And even if it were, feasibility matters. Similar concepts like Amazon's just walk out technology took 8 years and massive investment to implement. Dismissing that complexity makes the solution feel really shallow. Let's see how we can make the solution better by using the circles framework as a guideline. The circles method is an abbreviation. Let's walk through each step and see how we can apply it to our solution. The goal isn't to recite the steps mechanically, but to use this framework as a guide to make sure you cover the key parts of a design question in a clear and structured way. First, C, comprehend the situation. The first step is about grounding yourself in the problem before rushing into solutions. Restate the question in your own words, then ask clarifying questions about the goal, target, user, and any constraints. If information isn't provided, make reasonable assumptions and state them explicitly. Be careful not to fish for the answer. Avoid questions like, do you want me to redesign this part of the workflow? Or do you want me to design this as a mobile app? Focus on getting to common ground about the problem space first. Next, we want to identify the customer. Once the problem is clear, focus on who you're designing for. Even if the prompt gives you a user, define them more specifically. Segment the customer by behavior, demographics, or context, and select a primary persona. Be excited about who they are and why have you chosen them. This keeps your answer anchored and avoids designing for everyone. You want to highlight a range of possible customers to demonstrate that you've considered the problem from multiple angles before narrowing it down. This brings us to reporting their needs. We want to move from who is the user to what does the user need. You want to articulate the customer goal and why it matters to them. What are the customer's biggest pain points or frustrations in this context? Now that you have the customer's needs, the next step is to decide which one to focus on. You can't solve everything. Trying to cover all needs in actuality leads to diluted impact, wasted effort, and solutions that don't meaningfully satisfy anyone. Think about which problem causes the most pain or occurs the most, which have workarounds or which are feasible to solve with the resources available, and which best align with the business goals. From there, choose 1 or 2 to prioritize based on this reasoning. Once you prioritize the top needs, the next step is to generate solutions. The goal here isn't to find the perfect answer right away, but to show creativity and breadth. Think about at least 3 distinct approaches. Look at it from different perspectives, for example, adapting ideas from other products or challenging why things are done a certain way. Keep the ideas high level for now. The point is to demonstrate breadth before you narrow down on a solution. If I'm struggling to come up with ideas, I like to pick one that is safe, one that's ambitious, and one that is a visionary. After brainstorming solutions, take a step back and compare them. The goal here is to evaluate the impact and complexity of these solutions and identify which option best balances value for the customer with the feasibility of the business. Once you have all these completed, you want to present these findings in a cohesive and logical flow, then give your final recommendation. Link the recommendation back to supporting the business objective of the question and requirements, and also explain why it's the strongest solution. To demonstrate stronger product sense, acknowledge that no solution is perfect by calling out the potential risks or pitfalls and briefly explain how you'd mitigate them. Now on to some reminders. Every conversation will flow differently. Sometimes you'll have more emphasis on the customer personas or trade-offs. You need to adapt as needed and keep your answers natural and conversational. The circles method isn't a one-size-fits-all solution and shouldn't be regurgitated when answering the product design question. Think of it as a memory aid to ensure you cover the key parts of your solution. It can be hard to remember what each letter stands for in the circles method. Another strategy I have when answering product design questions is to list and trim. List a few users, then focus on one. List a few needs, then focus on one. List some solutions, then focus on one. Now let's hop into the same sample question and apply the circles method. I want to get more context out of the goal. Do we want to make the shopping experience faster, easier, more enjoyable? Are we building something that increases revenue per checkout? Do we want to focus on solving existing pain points or creating entirely new value for customers? On the customer side, I like to clarify who we're actually designing for. For example, are we thinking about the general shopper, or should I narrow in on a more specific segment like frequent shoppers who know the store well, versus first-time visitors who may need more guidance? In terms of context, it's important that my understanding of an in-person shopping experience is the same as the interviewer's. Are we talking about the entire end-to-end journey from entering the store to checkout, or are we just focusing on a specific part of the workflow, like navigating the aisles? Also, who am I? It's important to clarify the perspective I should take as PM. Am I the owner of the grocery store with a franchise? Am I a software company building this out for grocery stores? On constraints, I'd want to understand if there are any limitations around money, resources, or time that I should keep in mind as I think through my solutions. Knowing this helps me design something that's not only useful, but also realistic to implement. For the sake of this walkthrough, I'll assume my goal is to increase both customer satisfaction and revenue for the grocery store. The interviewer gave me the choice to pick a specific aspect of the shopping journey to improve or the overall workflow. For this question, I'll assume the grocery is similar to Trader Joe's, and I'll take the role of the CEO. Now let's talk about the users and needs. From the top of my head, I can think of a few obvious users in the in-person shopping experience. This includes shoppers, store employees, store managers, and children with shoppers. I want to focus on shoppers since they have the most direct impact on revenue and represent the majority of people present in the store. Trimming down, I want to think of a few user personas in the shopper customer category, such as busy professionals, family shoppers, budget-conscious shoppers, health-conscious shoppers, and casual or social shoppers. Family shoppers are a compelling persona to me to focus on because they represent both high-value and high-pain shoppers. Parents often do the bulk of the household grocery shopping, meaning their trips are larger and more frequent, which directly drives revenue. By improving the customer experience, I not only reduce stress for parents, but also create opportunities for larger, more consistent basket sizes and revenue. Now scoping down again, I want to focus on the family shopper's main pain points. A few that come to my mind include keeping track of whatever everyone wants, including snacks, meals, and drinks, covering family weekly meals without forgetting something or overspending, and balancing nutrition versus convenience for recipes. I want to focus on covering the family's weekly needs without forgetting items or overspending because this is their core job to be done. If they fail here, it leads to frustration, wasted time with repeat trips, and higher costs. Now to brainstorm some solutions. One idea is a recipe to cart app which allows shoppers to select meals in the app and the store auto-generates a list of ingredients available, their quantity, and maps it to the aisles. Another idea is having a dedicated family meal zone in store, a section with pre-curated sets of ingredients grouped together with recipes of balanced family meals. My third idea is a personalized shopper that purchases ingredients for the family based on preferences, leftovers, and budget. Customers can also request for item swaps or approvals prior to purchasing. Now let's list out the trade-offs for each of them by plotting the impact and complexity for each solution. Recipe Cart app. This is a medium impact, medium effort initiative. It helps organized families cover weekly needs without forgetting items and budgeting by making costs more upfront. However, this requires families to plan meals in advance, where some may shop more reactively, adjusting for sales, leftovers, or kids' changing tastes. Next, we have the dedicated family meal zone. This is a high impact, medium effort. It directly reduces decision fatigue for parents by bundling meals together and encouraging larger basket sizes as families are nudged to buy complete meal sets. From an effort standpoint, it's relatively straightforward as the products already exist in store, though it does require ongoing management to keep bundles fresh and relevant. Lastly, we have the personalized shopper. This is a high impact and high effort initiative. In an optimistic world, it nearly removes all friction by creating tailored baskets for families, but building something at a large scale is complex. It's essentially moving towards an Instacart level platform with personalization, which introduces significant technical challenges, costs, and customer support overhead. On the effort side, it requires building and maintaining an app, which our store does not have the resources to support. So as CEO, I would need to outsource these employees elsewhere. Based on this analysis, the Family Meal Zone initiative is the best solution and the recommended solution. It's highly impactful, feasible to implement, and directly solves the core pain point of decision fatigue for families while aligning with the strategic business goal of increasing revenue and customer satisfaction. One risk is pricing and positioning, since bundles could feel more expensive and lead to food waste from the grocer's end. We can mitigate this risk by designing bundles around seasonal and on-sale items, offering flexible portion sizes, and testing with a limited rollout first. This lets us quickly refine and scale with confidence, which is exactly in line with Trader Joe's culture of iteration and delivering exceptional value and customer experience. I may be asked follow-up questions from the interviewer, like how I'd measure success, what risks could derail adoption, or which groups of customers this solution might not be a best fit for. So yeah, in a nutshell, that is the product design question. I want to end off with some helpful tips. First of all, it's difficult to come up with answers on the spot, especially for the customer personas, their needs, and trade-off section. You can always ask for a quick 30-second pause before you answer to jot a few notes down. You won't be penalized for thinking, but you'll be rewarded for the structure. For every step, there are definitely the more obvious answers. Be creative with your answers and put some outlandish solutions out there to show that you're really thinking outside the box and in ways that other people may not be. And lastly, practice, practice, practice. The biggest mistake I made was spending way too much time reading and watching about how to answer PM questions instead of just answering it. But I grew exponentially faster when I put it to practice. Do mock interviews, get feedback, watch videos of other people answering them, and afterwards, keep iterating on your content and execution. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope this helps you with your next product design interview.